We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Audiophile. This is the Friday, the big show, big edition here. We've got special guests today. I'll introduce you to all our guests momentarily. I thought this was going to be an interesting show. I'm live at the Hi-Fi Center, downtown Vancouver. Hit us up if you're ever in Vancouver. Great gear here, as you can see behind me. Do all my shootouts in this room, and I know talking to Mazzy when Mazzy was here, he can tell you listening room is a big part of it. And today we're going to talk shootouts. Why we feel, and I feel, that going forward, if you're going to do a shootout, for the folks out there, doing a blind shootout is the way to go. I'll tell you why. I call it conscious bias, and we'll get into that as well. But let's bring on our guests here today. First of all, I'm going to start off. We know him as Norman Mazzy Maslov. Here he is. No more introduction. That's all you're getting today. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful in wonderful, beautiful Seattle.
Well, wonderful. And just to give you a heads up and let the viewers know, we have some fun today. We have a Mazzy rant segment. It's happening today. My viewer, when's the Mazzy rant happening? So it's happening. So watch for that, plus one other special segment. Now, we have another special guest today. Do you know who it is, Mazzy? So let me introduce you. Now, the fellow's name is George Borden from the Bay Area. Okay, he's a audio engineer, all around great guy. And I think I don't know if he's done any DNA tests, but he might be related to the only knighted Prime Minister of Canada, Sir Robert Borden. He was a Prime Minister, 8th Prime Minister of Canada. Was known for his leadership in World War I. Maybe he's a relative. Maybe George Borden, our guest, is related to Sir Robert Borden. So maybe we need to
Borden a cow to Elsie Borden and
Robert Borden is known for the one that introduced income tax to Canada. So I don't know how well he's liked. So I don't know. We should introduce. Let's talk to George here. Here he is. Here. I think we need to call him Sir George Borden. Maybe his great grandpa was Sir Robert Borden, who introduced income tax here in Canada, the 8th Prime Minister of Canada. George, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Just quickly, tell the viewers sort of your background. Obviously, I want to show you one thing too. I didn't do this yet. I've been too busy talking about Robert Borden here, but here is your YouTube channel here. I wanted to show everyone that. That's not the right one, but that's your YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to see George, he does live shows, some great reviews, some records. George Borden, pretty simple. Subscribe to his channel. We already know Mazzy's channel right there. He's got about 10 subscribers now. We're pretty happy for him there. And then we'll bring on our last guest. So getting back to tell the viewers. So what's your background in the industry?
I kind of grew up around the industry. By the time I was a little kid, I was doing acting and commercials and stuff like that, and the goal was to make money to buy gear, and eventually got into making records. There's a whole if you go, there's hours and hours and hours on the channel of my in-depth history, but the short story is that for the past, say, 30 years I've been making records. I've been as a producer, as an engineer, mastering records. I also have been in education, teaching at a recording college that also has a film program and a web design program.
Film program. There you go.
That's right. And so education and making records. That's basically what I do.
Thanks for joining, because today's topic, as you know, you and I have been chatting for a bit, is about blind shootouts, and I feel, and we can get into this, that is the way to go going forward, because we're going to get into that today later on in the show about my thoughts and your thoughts being in the industry. I call it conscious bias. Some call it confirmation bias, but we want to get into that today as well. So thank you for that. And I will say, you definitely have a radio voice. Not sure about the TV face yet. Maybe, but the radio voice, just lovely. So thank you for joining us today. Now our last guest, here he is. This is interesting. He's changed his YouTube channel, Mazzy. Did you know that? His name.
Who are you talking about?
Well, here's the thing. Look at this. So way back when, this guy here, Prince, he changed his name from Prince. Yeah. So
PB Thal, that's like the fourth thing.
So PB Thal, formerly known as the Vinyl Archivist. You can see Prince. I put Prince up there. He's changed his his YouTube
I
channel
thought
name.
PB Thal was like the fourth item on an Indian menu.
I don't know, but there's his YouTube channel. Subscribe. Let's welcome him. He's been around for a while on this show. He's known. So welcome. There he is, and I got to put it back up. There he is, Patrick PBTHAL, formerly known as the Vinyl Archivist. Welcome to the show.
He's actually very famous as PB Thal.
The correct pronunciation is PB Thal, by the way. So
there you go, Mazzy. See, not just me that can't pronounce things; it's you too. So there you
so
go.
I'm on my iPhone, so I've never done this before. I'm actually in an office in San Jose.
Well, you sound really good. I'm always
San
mobile.
Jose has shitty internet connections.
Yeah, I'm always mobile. I'm always on my iPhone. I do all my shows on my iPhone. I've given up on the laptop. It doesn't work for me. So, guys, thank you today. I know, Patrick, when we talked about this show, about conscious bias, about doing blind shootouts, you said, like, Steve, I got to be a part of this. So you're going to be a part of this today. We've got a master engineer, here, George Borden, Sir George Borden. Great grandson of Robert Borden, the Prime Minister. So thank you for joining me. And also too, I'd wanted just to give a shout out. We've got Dave behind the scenes. This show is getting we're big time now, Mazzy. This show is big. We've got official moderators monitoring the comment section as well. So thank you for that,
we
Dave.
Get tweakers every time I'm on.
Well,
here.
I mean, I've had a lot of complaints about people trolling Mazzy, so we want to protect the integrity of that. So thank you for that.
It's the comment. People have been calling it commie.
I want to protect the people's ability to troll Mazzy.
I saw some comments about anyway.
I'm being called a commie now. Mazzy's a commie.
Well, we know that's not true. So news today. I'll start out. I know we talked MoFi. I mean, I'm not sure, but here's what's coming out. Here's what can be pre-ordered if viewers are interested. I'll start out with this one. Joni Mitchell's Blue is being pre-ordered. It's a one-step, 45 RPM. Another pre-order right now is Cannibal Adderley's That's Something Else. Pre-order that, one step. Those two are available for pre-order right now. I'm assuming shipping in the next little while. So I don't know. Like I here's my blue. This is my Joni Mitchell, right? Or my Joni Mitchell Blue, my Bernie Grundman cut. Sounds great to me. That was a $40 cut. And something's wrong with the internet there in San Jose again, Patrick. But, it's my $40 Grundman cut. I can't see myself spending, another $60, $70 for the one step at this point to make it sound how much better. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, and George, maybe you can talk about it as well. 33 versus 45. What do you prefer? I mean, it's pretty hard to sort of compare the two apples to oranges, but I'm a big 33 because of sort of track continuity, track listing continuity, and case in point, Atlantic 75. You look at the Yes records and the one of the Genesis records. I mean, they have to do it in two parts. I don't like that.
That's interesting you say that, because there's a great video you need to watch after this.
Oh my God, is it a Mazzy video?
No, it's not mine. It's an interview. Do you know Paul Baraka P-Dub? Paul Baraka P-Dub, along with Michael, great channel, and with Michael Balmurray last night posted a conversation with Joe Harley and Kevin Gray on Music Matters Jazz. That was the main part of it. But there's a segment in there in the 90-minute thing talking about 33, 45. At one point, the 45s are best. But now they both, in a way, prefer 33s across the board. At least with Kevin Gray, his new system, they even say the later 45s that Kevin Gray did later and Tone Poets are better than the Music Matters 45s in some cases because the equipment's better. So yes, there are technical things, but I hear the 45s being slightly better, but to me, it's not usually worth the trade-off from my point of view.
And the price point as well, and then of course the flipping of the record. I go back to the point. I mean, you can never get Abbey Road on 45 because on side B you break up the medley, and that's you can't do that. It's against any Beatles thing ever. You cannot break up the medley. Would you agree? Even if it's 45, it would make sense.
They would cut it in half. They would cut it right before You Never Give Me Your Money, right after, it ends, and you'd come in for the, I could see how they could do it. But here's my thing. I just look at it as two different listening experiences. I listen to records sometimes not like intently, I just put them on and I just do things, and the records are playing in the background. In that situation, 33 all day long because I'm busy doing stuff and I don't want to have to keep changing. But there's that time where if I want to get that, eke that little tiny bit of, as Baraka P-Dub says, inches on the mile, get that little bit of high-end resolution and just sort of sit there and really listen to it clinically, I don't mind having the 45 and because I'm looking at each song in and of itself, and I'm not really listening to the album for that experience. It's a different type of thing. So I can go both ways, and
Yeah,
either one's fine with me.
But I mean, if you're sitting there trying to get deep into the music and stuff, getting up out of your chair 4 times to flip, 3 times to flip a record kind of interrupts that whole mantra of trying to get into the music. You're getting up and flipping it, so it's not exactly a turnkey operation.
I agree.
I have about 75 Music Matters Jazz, and luckily I got them not as they were coming out, but early on before the craze and price bump. And then I got all the SRXs, the 33s. And a lot of the 45s never came out on 33s through Music Matters, but if they were there and I could trade them to someone across the board, even though the 45s may be worth more, I would, in a second, no question, trade them for all 33s.
So is it marketing speak though when Kevin Gray says, "Well, I cut the SRXs and I cut the Music Matters at 45, and the SRXs are better"? So is that just marketing speak, or does Kevin Gray actually believe that his 33 SRX cuts are better than the 45?
Let me answer that, because
I know the equipment. The equipment changed from
I get it.
acoustics to it. Yes. Well,
I will answer that because I know
they're not available to buy it now.
Kevin's a big fan of 33. He likes it better than the 45.
Yeah.
George,
it's a different listening. It's a different listening experience.
Yeah, it wasn't Kevin's choice to do the Music Matters in 45. That's the licensing that Blue Note at the time sold them. And same with the, people say, how come Chad's not doing these Atlantic records in 33? Because they won't license. Labels are holding 33s to themselves.
Results of blind shootouts, speaking of today's conversation, of Music Matters 45 RPMs and the 33s. So
we'll get into that as well. That's for sure. But I think it goes back to continuity. I mean, when a record's made back in the days, it was basically, we knew it was 33 RPM. They had 6-7 tracks per side. That was it. I mean, that's the way they produce those records. Now today, if it's 45, you're getting 1 to 2, maybe 3 maximum tracks per side, and then flip every 10-12 minutes. I don't know.
But you're thinking about older stuff. So what about stuff that came out in like 1992 that they tried to shove 50 to 52 minutes onto a 33 RPM record? So they had to shave the bass, they had to lower the level down to where they could fit it in there. And then when you play it and pump the volume up, you've got surface noise like nobody's business.
All those CD albums are turning.
Yeah, artists were writing for the length of CDs, and that's why we know.
Right.
And the other thing I would also point out is that being in a recording studio day in and day out, you get used to listening to like a 5-second piece of music for like a day. So for me when I'm listening like on a clinical level like that, where I'm really trying to take it apart, I'm not really sitting down to listen to the album and the flow of the album and all that. I'm sitting there trying to like, what's going on here? Really? What are they, I'm listening to it when I'm listening to it in a clinical way, I'm listening to it as an engineer trying to go, how did they do this? What did they do here? What was the technique or whatever? You know what I mean? So I get though that
people are listening to it in a clinical way.
Well, that's what I totally understand that most people like the 33. And if I was, just a casual music listener, I do like the ability though. And look, I only have a few 45s, 45 RPM records. Most of my records are 33s, and I like the experience. They're cutting way quiet vinyl nowadays. The records are getting better. They're getting better at doing it. The equipment's getting better. I think that it's really kind of the same, but the knowledge is there for some.
I enjoy the 45 RPM. I'm not anti 45 RPM. I'm just playing the devil's advocate for Joe Person, who always says those, the typical arguments here, which are valid for anybody. I mean, what anybody's experience. I mean, I'm not going to say your experience is, if you prefer 33, that's fine. But there is a reason to listen to 45 RPM.
I think it's it's in the ear of the beholder, as they say. If you want to buy a MoFi one step at 45 and flip it, God bless. I mean, it just depends. And I think Mazzy's right though. I think it has a lot to do with licensing. You look at the 33 versus the 45. The Atlantic 75 series is a prime example. They're keeping the 33s to themselves, right? And the 45s are going to Chad.
I think that's bad. Get that Garbage album that came out on 7-inch singles, or the Black Crowes album that came out in 7-inch singles, like 7 of them. Now that is a pain in the butt.
Any more news you guys want to report for the week? Any more MoFi news, AP news, any more Atlantic stuff? I think we've pretty much talked a lot about it on all the different channels. The VC's been all over that since the announcement a week or so ago now. Mazzy got up early that day. I mean, he's still tired from that day.
Chad woke me up. Hey, Mazzy, he woke me up, and
hang on. What did he phone you or something? How did he wake you up?
His voice is, you know,
it was on the bat phone.
It was a subliminal wake up call.
I've never had Chad's voice in my head when I'm going to bed.
I've had it in my head twirling around for the last 2 years.
Interesting. So I think I posted that some of the MoFi stuff right now. We know what's going on with with Atlantic. I mean the big news, the Steely Dan. We got Asia coming out. I believe it's October 29th, just before Halloween. They've delayed it, and I think that one's going to be interesting. It's 45 RPM, of course. It's a Bernie Grundman cut. And of course, he did the original Asia, the 1006 AB years back. And that was one of his favorite of all time. He ever did that in Thriller. So I'm hoping that they really used his original when they cut the 45. And I really hope they use that one to compare the sound, and maybe the Cisco one that Kevin Gray did back in, what was that, 2007, was it?
The Cisco one has always sounded really kind of funky to me. It's not bad, but it's just so different.
Okay. I mean, I've done some blind tests with the Asia in my day as well, and I actually got my kids involved. And it's funny when you get people doing it, that never heard Steely Dan before, or Asia, so it's different. So I think, again, we're getting into it, and we'll get into it again. It's that all about that conscious bias, right? So
the 33 comes out next week, by the way. It's supposedly today, or I thought it was
I have pre-ordered that one, so I have that one coming Friday as well. I don't mind it.
InGroove jumped the gun showing it for today, but it's next Friday apparently.
So here's Man in a Pit. He says, "What's the Fremer Asia leak story?" Does anyone want to answer that? I have no idea.
He got a test pressing, and he says it's great. That's all I've heard.
Did they roll up?
Well, I have heard too that it sounds really good. I think it's, so I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
But how many versions of Asia don't sound good? I mean,
well, okay, George. I mean, I'm assuming you're a Steely Dan fan, or you've heard the record a billion times.
I have the record. I've heard it a billion times. Every single time you walk into a recording studio, every time you go to a live setup.
So Roger the Immortal Nichols obviously did a great job in recording that. So it is very hard to get a bad copy of Asia. I mean, all the originals sound great. I mean, they sound really, really good. So
I have a promo. I worked for ABC just right after Asia came out, and we were still promoting the singles. And the first song I promoted was Josie, and I have a 12-inch 45 of that. It was a promo copy, went to radio, and it sounds amazing. I mean, you can't deny what a great record that is,
So I expect the 45. I don't think there'll be the controversy we had with Pretzel Logic this time, the whole rolling off the top end. But then again, Fremer is the one that started the whole rolling off the top end. It was his review that started this whole thing with Pretzel Logic, from what I can tell.
It was the first, but it didn't start. I didn't read the review until I heard it. So everyone, but George and I have a different take on it.
So, and that's the thing about the whole blind shootout going forward. We're going to talk about that later, in later segment. And that's the thing about, I'd be curious to know if we could go back and Marty's DeLorean from Back to the Future, and go back before when Pretzel Logic first was released a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and do a blind shootout that way to see if we'd really be able to tell the differences, because it's this presumed bias already, because, oh my God, Pretzel Logic sounds like the tops rolled off, so it has to be. I've read so many reviews. I didn't read
anything before. I didn't know of his review but
there's some people that think Pretzel Logic, the AP version, sounds great. So I don't know. It just depends on your gear. And Mazzy, the listening room, as you can see, you were in the room just next door. This makes a big difference. I do all my shootouts in this room with the different gear, the Lins or the Cornwalls or whatever it might be at the time. It does make a difference. Speakers make a difference. Turntables make a difference. The amps make a difference. Everything seems to make a difference. And the mood makes a difference. Your actual personal mood makes a difference in the view of that record at that time. So there's a lot of variables that go into this.
Makes a big difference. So
what's that?
The volume level makes a huge difference.
Well, we're going to get into that as well. So next off, I know we're already 20 minutes in. We've had a lot of demand. It's been a few weeks or probably a month for this, and so we're going to get right into this. We're back by popular demand, and here it is, the Mazzy rant.
Already?
Go.
I have to warm up for this.
No, it's no warming up. Go.
Someone posted in the comments, what about the Who's next Lifehouse project, all that stuff. So that's my rant. It's about this. Now,
Okay,
I
go.
did a review. If you saw my review on it, you'll get my rant, but I need to get into it a little more. Who, top 5 band for me. Who's Next is a lot of people's favorite album. It's not my favorite. My favorite is either Tommy or Who Sell Out. And even lower on the list is Quadrophenia. Anyway, you all know the history. If you don't, the Lifehouse Project was going to be the next big epic after Tommy, and it was compromised, made into a single album. Glenn Johns produced a fabulous record, like the big anthem, probably the first big anthem record of the 70s, in my opinion. They put out the expanded box set. Now, more that I think about it now, more than I've heard this, I almost wish I bought the CD box of 10 CDs. I love art books. A lot of people think it's a waste, but I like the books and all that. So this is 4 LPs. Now, a little confusion here. 4 LPs, it has the main album. Now, there's 2 different main albums, and I don't know why they cut 2 different versions. We talked about this months ago, Steve, with your Plangent guest, I think. There's a Plangent. They're all digital, by the way. The Plangent release, I think, is the individual half-speed master that Miles Showell cut, I think.
And I'll get into that because I did bring my copy, so we'll talk about that right away.
This is the Miles Showell not half-speed digital thing in here. Now, my first rant. Do I have to raise my voice?
Hold on. I got to put it up again. So get going on the rant.
This friggin' packaging. Okay, you want the record. You want a proper record. Release it as a proper record, a single record like this, okay? So they have, it's a 4 LP set. You got the first record, right, as a gatefold, but within the gatefold, you start the first got a 3 disc of the San Francisco Civic Auditorium show. What the F is that about? I'm not going to say the F word on your channel, but I mean, this should be a separate single package thing. Maybe you think it's a little, not a big deal. It's about the music. Yeah, Mazzy. But you don't stick the beginning of a 3-record set on the back. It looks like some cheap ass, K-Tel release thing. Now, I don't remember which show, but I was at one of the 2 nights of the Warfield. At the Oakland College. Yeah, the Civic Auditorium San Francisco show, Bill Graham show. I saw one of these shows. Fantastic show. This is a fantastic performance. The second part of this rant, and then of course the rest of the show has its own 2 LP gatefold and great liner notes, but this was recorded on 16-track, recorded by Glenn Johns in front of the Civic, and this sounds like crap. This recording is mixed horribly. The drums sound like tin cans. There's no bass. This has been bootlegged a lot. I haven't heard the bootlegs, but I have heard several of the tracks. The song Bargain was released on a Who comp years ago, but this is the first time the complete show. It's great to hear the whole performance, but how do you screw up a 16-track recording, a live show? Because if you go back a few years, this is an incredible sounding live album. In fact, when I bought my speakers last time, this was one of the albums I bought in because I love the sound of Keith Moon's drums. Get a UK copy, even the expanded the entire set, with the 6 sides, 3 LP set that came out some years ago is actually pretty good too. So how do they mess up a 16-track truck recording of this? It's horrible, horrible. And I would say I did, we'll get into the blind buy-ins later. I did do a blind shootout between my other versions of this. We'll talk about that later.
So, packaging is the rant, right?
Horrible packaging.
Okay.
It's the end of the rant. Horrible packaging.
Thank God.
For it.
Okay.
And what a horrible mix, man, and packaging of the live shit.
Boom. So that was the Mazzy rant. Thank you. Boom. Thank you. Very good. I want to show everyone. I just got this today. I'm going to listen to it after. Oh, okay. Hang on.
I forgot.
Yeah.
And they fly in the same fake audience applauses after 2 or 3 tracks. You hear the same guy going, woo!
Oh, that is annoying.
Songs. How shitty is that?
It's like watching a 1980s sitcom or something like that.
It was
like it's like watching MASH. Remember MASH always had the same laugh track.
Recordhead. I thank you for the reminder.
So there it is. This is the half-speed Miles Showell, Abbey Road Studios. Now he cut it. He didn't master it. It was mastered by John Astley. But the Plangent process, Jamie Howarth was very proud of this production. So this is the half-speed mastered by mastered by John. What did I say? John Ashley and Miles Scholl cut it. So I'll listen to this. I'll listen to this right on this system right after this show. I'm interested to hear what it all sounds like. Anyone have it?
I'm not going to buy another copy.
Well, you don't need it. That was $40 or 25, $30.
I don't care.
The version that comes
on Universal. Pete Townsend, send me one.
What's the version that comes in the box?
A separate,
but it's not. But it's not half speed mastered.
It's not half speed, but it's cut by Miles, and it says it's cut at Abbey Road, room 30.
Well, that's a half speed master then.
No, it has to be. Here's the thing. I talked here. Can I just I actually spoke to Miles just before we went on the show because I said, "Hey, I literally just got this copy." He goes, "Let me know." He goes, "Let me know," because I don't think yours is the plan. Yours isn't the plan. Yours isn't. It says half speed on the dead wax, and yours doesn't. I don't think, but I don't think yours is
not.
So that's not the plangent process, maybe in the box. Maybe this is the only one. Yeah. Okay.
That's why two? And then on top of it, you have to get the box set with the Blu-ray to get the new Steven Wilson mix. You know, that's not even on vinyl.
That's going to be my rant. They didn't put the half-speed plangent in that box. That'll be my rant.
There's the rant. It's just confusing. Why do all these versions? Okay, you know what they
money. It's called money.
Rant. If you're going to do a double, like a gatefold, have the half speed and have the Steven Wilson mix.
I agree.
That's it. Keep it the same friggin' record. Universal, Pete Townsend.
Well, they took your money already, Mazzy, so they don't care. They're done. Okay, this is too much for me. But anyways, let's get to the meat and the potatoes of this. So getting back to blind shootouts today, I really want to, really challenge everyone in the vinyl community going forward that I truly feel to get the best result, it needs to be a blind shootout. Now, would we all agree that's probably the best thing? Would it be anyone that disagrees with me in this panel today?
I would qualify it with you have to have like I said, if you're blind shootout, if the levels aren't matched.
Well, let's talk about that. So first off, it goes back to conscious bias. I mean, basically, I got this out of like a psychology book, but it's like conscious bias. It's the attitudes that you're already aware of something. So, right. Or it could be called confirmation bias. It's a tendency to favor information that aligns with your views already. So again, getting back to it, and I see this a lot, and I'll admit to it as well. It probably has happened to me in the past. You're all excited. You buy a $150 MoFi or $150 UHQ. You're like, oh my God, you've been reading all the reviews. Mazzy does an incredible review on his channel about this. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's got to sound the best. So you go and do the shootout against your original versus your, mid 90s reissue. And of course, the conclusion is simple. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. Well, how did you conclude that? Did you, and that's what I wanted to get into today, because I really, truly feel it's bias, because you go into it already thinking, okay, I got to justify the $150 that I'm spending. I'm doing this shootout. I want to put it out to the public. It has to be the best. This is the reason. No one wants to hear
your $150 album can be bettered by one that costs $5 at the used record store. Nobody wants to hear that. So it's not something.
So I would be curious going forward. If you're going to do a shootout with all these records, do it blind and have someone else that can basically meter it for you. I'm lucky here. I got guys at the store that can help me do that. So it's not a problem for me, but that's the way to do it. And I'm challenging everyone to get a proper, accurate result. Don't be scared if the results aren't UHQR being the best. Don't be scared if it's an Abbey Road Studios being the best, because that is what you're hearing. It has to be a non-biased shootout going forward.
What's best, not somebody else.
Because I think we're really, really concentrated on everything that's out there going, oh my God, it has to be the best because I spent $150. George, thoughts, go. I'm putting you full screen.
Okay, number one, if we're talking about adjusting gain, it's also important to note that if you use preamp tubes, meaning you have tubes in your phono stage, if you are playing a record that has a higher output coming off the record, it was cut at a louder level, you're going to hit those tubes differently. You're going to get a completely different reaction out of them. Driving the input tubes can be a big difference as well. So what I tend to do if I'm trying to do a real comparison is I knock the gain down on the phono stage so it doesn't hit the tubes differently, right? So I match gain even at the beginning of the stage if I'm going to, try to see what's going on between the two records. I do believe that blind tests are the way to go. Patrick does a lot of them and he does them really well. You can download the files and you can listen to them. And I've bought a couple of records that I wasn't planning on buying because I heard Patrick's blind shootouts. And me and my partner, Nick, we get on an hour before the show and I'll be playing him some records and he doesn't know which one I'm playing him. And he's hearing it through the internet and all that kind of stuff, but it is reasonable fidelity and he can tell the difference and he can make up his mind which one he likes. And then I tell him what he's done. It's the best way to do it, because yes, you do. If I paid $100 for a record and I find out that it doesn't sound as good as one that I could have got for $20, it does play in the mind of the consumer, like buyer's remorse.
It's exactly that. I mean, you're trying to confirm your purchase and not have buyer's remorse. So I mean, especially if you're a YouTuber and you want to bring that out to the viewer, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the $150 album's going to sound better, even though really does it.
And the last one I wanted to say also is that, yes, if you watch your favorite YouTuber and they tell you what they think, there's more bass on this one, there's less treble on that one, and you walk in there looking for that, as soon as you spot the one with more treble, you go, okay, that's the one. That's another thing that happens too, is that you look for a specific trait that you may have heard somebody say. Obviously with the pretzel logic, everybody was looking for the rolled off top end, and as soon as they found it, they went, yeah, that's it, bad, no good.
Let me talk about that pretzel logic, because I did not buy it, and a viewer, actually not a viewer, in a Hoffman forum, someone's reached out to me, inboxed me, and said, "Hey, would you like to borrow?" They're in the Bay Area. "Would you like to borrow my copy for a week?" I ended up having it for 2 weeks, and I hadn't read Fremer's review at all. And I had someone here, Kimbo, my friend Kimbo was here. We were having a little scotch, so we were all kind of loosey goosey. I hadn't heard a word about it. I was expecting this great thing. Now, it wasn't a total blind thing, but I didn't pay $150 either. We played the first 3 tracks of my original side 1, and it sounded amazing. It sounded great. But I didn't tell Kimbo which one I was playing first. And then I put the first one on. I had to bring the volume up. Now, George will mention this. He says, all you got to do is you got to turn up the treble or whatever. I don't have tone controls on my Hagel amp, so I can't change that. But he was sitting there in the sweet spot as soon as I first put it on, and he had this look like, what happened? He just had this like puzzle. What went wrong with this? And he didn't know. Then I told him, this is the new one. And then we went through it about 2 or 3 different times of those first 3 tracks. I did love Major Dude, the acoustic guitar, but it didn't seem to fit the love of the album. And that was my take. And I played it maybe 3 or 4 times over the next 10 days. And I just was so disappointed with it. But I can't change the tone controls.
Patrick.
Well, I mean, for my perspective, I have the luxury of people send me all different versions, and I record them on all my different hardware iterations as I gone through my hardware journey over the last 15 years. And I've kept all these copies. So even though, so I have the luxury of having like 15 different versions of Master of Puppets, say, for instance, whether it be a cartridge change, a phono pre-change, a different pressing. So, and I have all these digitally recorded on my systems over the years, and so, but whenever I try to do shootouts, I try to always record on the same equipment within the same week, and, when I do these shootouts that I put on YouTube. But one thing that I do notice, and I think is important, is that you can hear something for the first time, and if it's really the high end's very pronounced, it's very exciting to you in the beginning, but it can become very fatiguing towards the end. George can probably back me up on this, where a lot of high end is exciting at first, but like after about half an hour, you kind of go, oh, my ears are kind of a little not happy with it. And another thing people always say, not always, but there are some detractors that say, well, it's over YouTube or it's a digital file. He recorded it from a record to a digital file. You can still tell the tonality and everything that you need to hear, in my opinion, to make a qualified decision. Is it, you can definitely tell, so I would like George to comment on that. I hear it a whole lot, especially in the vinyl community. So
what I do when I'm trying to really shoot something out is I will take them all and I will run them in at 9624 into the computer, and then I will have them lined up. And I have a little, like it's like a DAW, like a workstation. And I can, when I click on one, it will solo it and turn off the others. And I can literally switch back and forth, make sure my levels are correct. And by that time, I'm almost forgotten which one's which. You know what I mean? So now I've you know, and I don't believe that transferring them to a digital anything is a bad thing. I'm not anti-digital. I think it's a tool and it can be just as good and helpful and useful. And if you're getting a good right off the needle, right off the preamp, right into a workstation, and you have a high resolution, the obviously, you know, we're making records that way now. You know, 100% almost of the
I heard MoFi was making them like that.
Well, you know, there's a little rumor.
Close like they are, you know, I think you're probably about 90 to 95% of the way there of what the actual vinyl experience is, in my opinion. You know, I think it gets you right about there if you do it right, you know, and that's enough to tell if like one record sounds better to you than the other one, you know.
Easily. And going over the internet, they're both suffering from the same exact compression. So they come out the other end with those inherent differences are still intact, especially if you have decent, you know, capability to transfer the audio.
That's why I include the files so you can download them for yourself, you know, so that way.
Now, Steve, I did a blind shootout of the Who albums, the Who's next albums I have. Just to let you know, I do not have, I would love to have an original UK track. I do not. That's the one. Do you have one, Patrick?
Well, the UK or the German or the French, you know, all of those got the same plate.
Yeah, I don't have. So let me tell you what I have. I have an original American pressing. I have obviously the box set one that's not the half speed. It's not. I don't even know plangent, not plangent. I have late 70s, early 80s Polydor UK, the red label, and I have the classic. And I used to have a perception, and I think I said to you guys or to George, that it seemed bright. And I haven't played this since I have my Hagel amp. So it is about gear-friendly stuff. So just my shootout, you don't have to watch my video. I'm not going to promote it. But number 4 was my American. That was number 4. Number 3 was the new one in the box. Number 2 was the UK early 80s, early 80s, I think. And actually, the classic was number 1. It kicked ass. It was a blind test.
On your American though, was it cut by Doug Sachs? Did it have the MG 18888? Was it the minus W1? Was it the minus W1X, minus W2, minus W3? There's all.
No wonder you're so famous. No wonder you're so famous. No wonder
I have
your name.
I have the classic too, Mazzy, and I actually like it. I was shocked when you said that it was too bright, but I'm glad that if you gave it another chance,
came around. I don't mind changing. You know, you listen to it a different.
Sure.
Yeah. And different rigs. What did you say? It's something two.
There should be MG 18888 or MG 18889 hand etched in there in the dead wax, and it should be the end of the matrix should be minus W1 or W2 or W3, and with it sometimes
it's 8 minus, then it's W2.
Okay, does it have the MG 1888?
Yes.
Okay, that is the Doug Sachs cut. That's the second cut. So you're all right. People say that the -1, the W1 is better. I don't really hear that.
And the thing is, none of these were bad.
No, it's a great sound.
So it was a little flatter though. There's something about that's where it's so frustrating. Then if in 2005, if they can cut something that sounds this good from an analog, why the F can't they do it now for an 50th anniversary issue? And I know that's the thing we always complain about, but even the plangent, and I'm usually a fan of plangent. Patrick and I agree that the plangent Springsteen series is
so good,
fabulous.
Did we determine, Mazzy, if this is this plangent the half-speed master plangent?
That's where I'm confused.
Do we know?
Someone in the chat said that the half speed's not the plangent, and the one
but this doesn't say half speed.
And I looked here too, guys. It doesn't say plangent anywhere, but it does say half speed on the dead wax.
Mine does not say half speed.
If only someone knew Jamie.
So it appears that it's possible that the one that Mazzy has.
Well, if Jamie's watching, put the comment up. Which one's plangent? I don't know. It doesn't say anywhere.
This says Abbey Road. Well, Miles, Abbey Road, room 30.
I bought that box because I thought the plangent process was that. So I think my box will be here tomorrow. So
let's find out. We'd like to find out: is the one in the box plangent? Are they both plangent, or is only one plangent?
I excited to hear the plangent process on this. I was like stoked.
Yeah.
But yours doesn't say half speed master or half speed cut by Miles, does it?
It doesn't say half speed.
And so someone's asked me, Steve, are you sure? Hang on. Are you sure? Hang on. So he's saying, are you sure it's half speed in the dead wax? I'm 100% sure because Miles Scholl asked me the same thing.
Open it up.
I've opened it up. It says half speed by Miles.
We have to verify.
I'll verify it. Steve. I know you don't believe me. Okay.
Doesn't the plangent process cut to a lacquer? Isn't that part of the cutting the lacquer is what the plangent process, or do they cut to a digital file? I know they have a digital process.
I think it's probably an algorithm that they run inside a computer. It would be it can crunch those speed changes. And
I think it's in the playback. He explained it. I can't remember now.
So I'm surprised they don't do a little, like, he doesn't work out a deal with his contract that said using the plangent system.
They did on the Springsteen, I thought.
So on the dead wax, it says Miles, Abbey, half speed, and then I can't read it, numbers or something like that.
Yeah, mine doesn't say half speed.
And it also says it on the hype sticker.
So why would they cut it twice? Why would they cut it?
And so it's been cut twice. So which one has the plangent?
And why? What's the point?
Well, I know
it doesn't say anywhere on here at all.
Half speed is cut from a digital file. So
well, yeah, of course.
Well,
yeah.
Why make two separate cuts?
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't.
Not even for sales. Every time, that's like even a weird sales.
I thought Miles Jam was doing the half speed.
That's his whole thing.
It's his whole thing, and so I mean, unfortunately, when we went live, I was texting Miles and I was asking about it, and then I wasn't able to go back. So I think he probably has the answer for me, and I can't go back right now because I'm on my phone. But yeah,
Mazzy, did you look at both sides? Because maybe he put it on one side and not the other, or something. Like did you?
One side or the other.
So going forward, guys, that was a big topic today. Blind shootouts. That's what I want to see. That's what will make me really decide on which album or which pressing I want to buy going forward. That's what I'm going to challenge everyone to do. Me personally, I'm going to do that as well if I do another shootout in the near future. I promise everyone that.
Neither side. Just Abbey Road, room 30.
Okay, you know what? Hold on. I'm going off screen. I'm going to text Miles quickly, see if he's gone back to me. So I'm going off screen. Mazzy, don't talk bad about me. I'll talk to you guys in a second. I want to see.
They use the original track record label because I love.
Okay, he's gone. What do we really want to talk about?
Leaves the stream in the midstream. That's a rant for Mazzy right there.
Which one?
When the host leaves you.
Leaves us. But I was very happy with this. I got this from the Coleman collection, actually, George. So 200 gram, 33 in the third. Did they do this 45 also?
See, that's the thing. I didn't even know that that's the one that I had. I had bought it new in a store around, I guess, when it came out, and I just bought it because that was the one I found in the bin, and I tested it, or played it against all of my other copies of it, and it was just so much.
Well, they were
better.
Fairly cheap for a while. They were crazy. They were like, well, maybe $25 or something, or
I'm back, and I didn't hear my name being called. Yeah,
we had all kinds of fun.
I know. So the text, basically, I asked Miles and I said, hey, is it plangent process? I sent him a picture and he asked me, he goes, it sounded really good. Is it half speed cut in the dead wax? And that was the last message I got from him. So I don't know what that means.
So yours is half. See, I don't understand why.
So what I think that might mean. I'm completely just guessing right now. I bet you I'll get to the bottom of it. The half speed's probably the plangent.
I'm going to be pissed.
Yes, I might get rid of this and get the friggin' CD box so I can get the artwork and the graphic novel and the big booklet and I might donate this to one of the orphans.
Well, yeah, I mean, they use the plangent on the CD. That's fact, but I'm just curious to know if they use the plangent master to cut to cut it to vinyl on the Abbey Road half master.
I'm just really curious.
Half speed mastered.
I'm really curious about the Steven Wilson mix. I don't always love everything he does, but I'm curious. Apparently, though, except they couldn't find the all the tape or all the multi-tracks for Bargain. So the Bargain's the only one that's not redone in that way.
It's going to be fun. Asia's coming out. I can't imagine the number of shootouts we're going to see of Asia. So this will be interesting. And it better not be every AUHQR being the best one after this, because this is blind shootouts.
George is already bored just from hearing you mention that.
It's another. I've heard that song, that record.
The Lo-Fi of Asia won't win.
The which one?
The original Mobile Fidelity Asia
Well, I have that one. No, I mean, I like the AB 1006. I mean, bottom line, it's fantastic. Grenman mastered cut sounds fantastic.
And if you double down with a Columbia Santa Maria AB, then you're really in the ballpark.
When Kevin Gray cut the Cisco that he did, they used the AB as the reference.
But people said that they lost the tape to Asia. That was a rumor.
I don't know.
Isn't Asia from a dub?
I think so.
That is the rumor.
Yeah. Well, it says that if you go to the website on Chad's the Acoustic Sounds website, it shows you, it tells you the provenance down below in the description of the UHQR box, and it'll tell you there, Patrick, if you can. So it'll be interesting. So going forward, so Sir George.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know your next shootout. How blind will that be?
They're all blind every time, all day, all night, all blind. And
without alcohol, though, I think again variable. So we have the blind thing, we have the blind shootout. Obviously, making sure you might have to have someone else to help you with it, possibly, so you don't get that confirmation bias or conscious bias. But listening room is another variable in there. I think your mood's another variable. So you could just love UHQR's Asia one day and love the Bernie Grundman cut the next. I mean, you gotta really, I know this isn't rocket science, but I really want to see some consistency here in these shootouts.
And I think that what's good also is to refrain from saying best or better, different, right? They're all good.
Yes.
Most of these records are good cuts. They're all good, and most of them, and it's like it's a preference. I like this one better than this one. This one works for me better on my system, in my room, on my stuff. And you might find that you go to somebody else's system and it plays out differently. And you might, it's good to have choices. I think, to me,
but I mean, and also, like, if you listen in the morning as opposed to the night, your ears get more fatigued as the day wears on. And so, like, in the morning, everything's more clear, for lack of a better term. George could probably articulate this.
So time number one, listening room number two, blind shootout number three. I mean, there's a lot of things here that go into play to make this more of an accurate sort of conclusion, right?
If you really want to do it seriously, get an SPL meter. Not one of those little apps in your phone, but get a real good old fashioned SPL meter.
Right.
And
I do have one here, so I do use that.
It's the level that the sound pressure levels in the environment are going to make a huge difference as how that record plays. It's one thing to kind of look at the EQ curve of it, but how it's going to move those molecules.
Going back to Plangent Process, go to the Plangent Process website. Someone, I bet you Jamie put up his Who's master there, and maybe that will say.
I will never listen to records. Also, when I'm
screaming about this next, no one can tell if it's a Plangent or not. Nobody even they're having the same conversation.
Who's having the same conversation?
The Hoffman forums.
No, but just go to Jamie's website right now. See if he's actually produced that.
I will never listen to records when I'm sick, because there's like a sense memory thing. If I'm really sick and I put a record on, when I hear that record months later, I remember being sick, so it turns me off.
Sir George, Mr. Wheeler's got a question there.
What SPL will do is it will ensure that you are hearing the material as flat as you can, your frequency response. If you look at the Fletcher-Munson curve, when you're listening at low levels, you have a tendency to have the outside ends of the frequency spectrum kind of collapse down, and you're focusing mostly on mid-range. Defeating that at 83 dB SPL with some white noise or some pink noise, and getting that sort of stable environment where you're listening and you're not doing any damage, you're going to get a flatter response for you in your your ability to hear. That's why the amplitude of the material matters.
And just to get back, I know everyone, we're trying to figure this out. Anything on the Plangent Process website?
No, it just kind of lists who they client list.
This is half speed cut by Miles, just so everyone knows. It says it in the dead wax.
Yeah. And by the way, loudness is a perception from the listener, and loudness is based on average volume, not peak volume. So an average volume is going to equal loudness to the listener.
And Scott has another follow-up there, George.
80 dB SPL at 40 hertz will sound nowhere near as loud as, well, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
you need to get the level up to where you are getting the flat response that you have inherently in your mechanism.
But remember, maybe this sounds kind of shitty, the live thing, because Pete Townsend blew his eardrums out in the Smothers Brothers show you decades ago.
I don't know. Don't buy two versions yet. We got to figure out which one the plangent process is. And in Miles, I asked him straight up, and he didn't even answer my question. I said, in my text to him, I said, plangent process ? He goes, yeah, it's good. Is your copy does it say half-speed Miles on it? And I said, yes, it does. And he never got back to me. So I don't know what that means.
Also, now going to the CD on this, about 20 years ago, Pete Townsend did a direct sale of the Lifehouse, a CD series of a lot of the demos and works on that. And I do have that. So that's why I didn't go for the big, giant overkill CD box. But after hearing this, I'm thinking I wish I had instead.
How much is that? How much was that box, Mess?
Well, I get a deal through Universal because of my friend who works there. I get 30% off. So whatever it's, but still it wasn't, I think I probably paid $80 or something, or 90, or something.
So hopefully after today's show, the vinyl community, we can sort of come together and have more consistent shootouts that aren't going to be so geared towards, oh my God, I want to impress Chad because I bought his record. Maybe he'll watch my show and his is the best. I think,
I don't think you're going to get your wish. Honestly, I don't think you're going to get your wish at all.
Well, then my wish is just do blind shootouts. It's simple.
I don't think people are going to do it not correctly. No one's going to get an SPL meter.
So then do we need to do those? Are those accurate then? Are you guys going to go, oh my God, that's amazing? Yeah, he's right.
If they don't have the right environment, if they don't level match, then I'm pretty much I will probably take their opinion as their opinion, but I mean, to me, it's not as valid as somebody who would level match.
Well, first of all, that's why I don't do a lot of I do very few shootout. That's not my thing on my channel. However, I mean, you can still, even if you don't do all the stuff you're talking about, which I get at the rules, you put a couple of versions of a record on, you play, you get a sense of what you like better. And some of it is just because we've heard a friggin' thing for 40 years. We're used to that sound too. There's that.
But there are people whose opinions on audio quality I respect. Someone like George, whereas someone like you, I more respect your talk about the music and the songs and that kind of stuff. So there's two different levels for me of who I listen to.
That's fair.
I'm going to put it out there with the who's next. I'm going to put it out there. I'm just speculating, but based on what I'm sort of getting from all this, I bet you they're both plangent. They're both mastered with the plangent process. That's my call.
So I will do a shootout of who's next. I have a lot of I even have the old Kevin Gray MCA heavyweight version.
How's that one?
I didn't really like it, and a lot of people don't. So some other people love it, but I mean, that's just the way things go. But
George.
Well, here's the thing. Level optimize. Here's the thing: when you are level matching, so to speak, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that the average volume of each of them is the same. The peak values are not as important as the average volume of the material that you're listening to. When you look at a VU meter is showing you an average over time, whereas a digital meter is hopping up and down in real time. You can set it to be, VU and peak. So I understand what Mr. Wheeler is getting to, is that it's not ever possible to come, because if you got more bass in one, and what are you matching the bass level? Are you matching the mid-range level? Are you matching the high end? It's the average volume overall.
I just do the RMS volume personally.
There you go. That's the best way to optimize the level, as he's saying. Yes, absolutely.
So how many cuts of Who's Next do you have, Patrick, to compare?
Probably 6 or 7.
And you're gonna do the whole blind shootout with all 6 or 7 then?
Yeah. So I'll probably have to pick. So I've streamlined I actually have 4 shootouts ready to go. I just have to make the video. I've actually streamlined the process. So I found an app, like a Adobe app. One of the versions has a nice level matching thing where I can just drop the files in. Because previously I was doing it manually. I'd find the level of one, and I go back manually and write down the numbers and like minus or plus. And that was just a pain in the ass for 16 times for a shootout. So yeah.
Patrick, question for you there.
Normalizing is a digital process where you take the highest peak value and put that up to just under 0 or at 0. It keeps everything intact when you normalize.
boost everything underneath it up to that point, right? So it just basically takes the highest peak and boost the whole. So when I normalize, I normalize across a side of a record, and I don't do individual songs. I'll do a side, and I'll normalize to like -1 dB. That's what I do typically. When I'm
So how many times, gentlemen, do you figure you need to listen to that one cut to really get a good idea of the sound to shoot out against the others?
Some stuff is minute. Some stuff is like in your face, like different, like the Rostov, like the Bob Barney Exodus shootout that I did. Some of those cuts were so stark in their differences.
So let me stop you there. I know Exodus, I think it was, or was it Rostov? And you like the half-speed master of that one, I thought.
Everyone did. Well, I mean, the majority of people did.
I have the half speed of the Marleys. They sound great.
It's on a case-by-case basis to me.
That is correct, Mr. Wheeler. Normalizing has nothing to do with level matching and average values.
That is not, normalizing is not level matching. If I intimated that was the case, I don't think I did, but yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think he's involved in the conversation and adding to it, which is always fun.
Yeah,
it's always good to see that.
Scott's a big fan of the show, Mr. Wheeler. Thank you so much.
He's a Hoffman for him too. So
yeah, we're running out of time. One more here. What's this say, Christopher? Here, I didn't read it. Maybe someone can read it. On You Discover, they had both the single disc blue version and the half speed up for pre-order. So I assume So I guess he's talking about who's next.
Yeah, but neither of those are the ones in the box. Those are single. So it's different.
We'll figure it out. I mean, Miles will get back to me or someone. So we got 4 minutes left, and we have a new segment now. This will be fun. But before that, we're calling him Sir George Borden, and I wanted to show you, George, your great grandfather. There he is, the 8th Prime Minister of Canada, Sir Robert Borden, who brought income tax into Canada. So I don't think your family is too popular here in Canada here today, but that's your relative. And the only knighted prime minister in the history of Canada is Sir Robert Borden. There he is.
Which Michael's chiming in the HSM of Marley. What's the HSM?
Hold on. Michael, hi Michael. Yep.
What is the HSM, you guys?
Half speed mastered, maybe?
Oh yeah. Got it.
Half speed, the Abbey Road half speed masters. I mean, those sound really good. I really enjoy those ones. And I know
it sounded fantastic. It sounded fantastic.
Master of Exodus than they did the UHQR.
Chad's two are fabulous.
I have the UHQRs. I do love those ones as well.
I have both. Friggin' great. I mean, I've never complained about the quality of his records. I mean, those are amazing.
I've on Shootout coming up as well.
Yeah. Okay, we're running out of time. This is fun. Hang on, I got something fun for us. But one thing, Sir George. So when Mazzy came to Vancouver last week, we had the show here at the Hi-Fi Center. Then we went off to the Cactus Club for lunch and some beverages, some libations. And so this is what we do this is what the vinyl community guys do when they get together. They have a few drinks, and we're watching George Borden stream at the same time at the bar, as you can see there. So that was myself and Mazzy.
Grigio. It's not even a drink.
I was having a lager. Yeah, it was fantastic.
I'm having a white wine.
Yeah.
George,
thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you so much. So so the next segment before we go, here it is, Mazzy. I thought this would be fun. Can you stump Mazzy?
Oh God.
Okay. So you're like the, I wouldn't say the godfather of the VC, but obviously,
I know what I know is a lot of stuff.
You know. So I've got 5 questions of can we stump Mazzy? Here we go. Question number 1. What UK band in 1975 recorded the song I'm Not in Love?
Oh, 10cc. Boom.
Thank you.
That was easy.
Damn, that was easy. Okay.
Come on, man.
Well, I don't know. We got to see where he's at. I mean, we're gonna this segment will get a little bit more
Studios. Their own
and it was Strawberry Studios. You're very correct there. What year did John Lennon and Paul McCartney meet?
1957.
Correct. And what instrument did Paul McCartney play with the Quarrymen when he first got together with John?
He played. He wasn't playing bass. He was playing guitar.
Rhythm guitar. Yeah. I'll give you that. Boom. That's 2 for 2.
Sutcliffe. Only reason Stu Sutcliffe played bass because he won an art. He won money, and George and John made him buy a bass.
And Sutcliffe couldn't even play bass. So that's kind of funny.
That's why he stood to the back.
And this is a throwaway because you're from the Bay Area. But what was the original name of the Grateful Dead band before the Grateful Dead? Boom. Okay. Last but not least,
God,
the fourth question. You're 3 for 3. This is impressive. We can't stump Mazzy, but I'll get you. I'll get you. So the last one. Listen to this.
Questions.
Well, this is. I'm just. You know what? I don't want to embarrass him in front of his fans. I mean, we'll get to it. Okay. Last but not least, who was the first woman ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Not Aretha Franklin.
It was Aretha Franklin. There you go. And that was your first episode. Can you stump Mazzy?
I shouldn't have answered that with a negative.
I did not stump Mazzy. Damn it.
I shouldn't have answered that.
Damn it. And a couple things before we go. I decided to get
sure about that one, but she makes total sense. She's the one that should be first.
Chad had this up on one. I think it was Michael 45 stream or someone. I got the CD. This is the HD CD with the DVD in it from the concert from '72 in Oregon.
Tangent. That's
I don't know if this is, but I think eventually Chad's going to come out with the LP, and if you get the LP, I mean they're $400 on Discogs. But I'll have a listen to this tonight as well. Kind of fun. And then I'm in all types of genres. So I'm going to the concert here in Vancouver next year. My kids already have my credit card. They're going to wait till 3:00 and get the tickets. Olivia Rodrigo. I had to buy the record. I got it today. So this is Guts. You can see the name of the record on her three.
She's a little bit in that vein of like.
This is something Danny Kaye would do on
Norman fucking Rockwell. What's her name?
Lana Del Rey. Yeah.
I like what I've heard of her actually.
Yeah.
So guys, next time don't give me 5 metal questions because I'll fail.
Well, no, that was just a softball. That was a first statement. We really wanted to test it out. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Sir George, thank you so much. That was awesome. You guys, another thing too, I know a lot of people have been asking about where you can find our streams, like the YouTube streams. If you have Mazzy's stream or my stream or Patrick's stream, well, you have. But here's if you go here on the main page of someone's YouTube, it's on the right hand side. You can see that little down arrow. Click on that. And then from there, they'll give you an option to go live. And then that will show you all the different streams that have been recorded and we've done in the past for all our different channels. So I know I've had a lot of viewers ask me, where are these streams? Because they don't really pop up on the actual main page of our YouTube channel. So I wanted to give viewers that. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure. Lunch break is over for me. I get back to making some money now.
Namaste.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.